3 years. That's how long it's been since I married Adrian Whitlock, heir to Whitlock Enterprises, the man every woman in the city seemed to want. And the man who never once looked at me the way a husband should. I used to think love was something you could earn, that if I tried hard enough, smiled brightly enough, stood by him long enough, he'd eventually see me. But love doesn't work like that, not with Adrian. Now I know better. The house was quiet tonight, too quiet for a place that had once been my dream home. The rain pressed against the tall windows, filling the silence that stretched between us at dinner, in the hallway, everywhere. He sat across the table, scrolling through something on his phone, sleeves rolled up, looking effortlessly perfect and utterly distant. "Adrian," I said finally, my voice steadier than I felt. "I signed the divorce papers." He didn't even flinch. His eyes flicked up once, sharp and unreadable. "I see." That was all. "I see." No surprise, no anger, not even a question. Just calm acceptance, like he'd been waiting for it. I let out a quiet laugh that hurt more than crying. "You make it very hard to believe you'll miss me." He put his phone down then, just for a second. "You deserve someone who gives you more, Aria." And with that, he stood and walked past me. Not even a touch, not even a glance back. I watched his back disappear down the hallway, tall, cold, heartbreak in a suit, and realized I didn't have anything left to say. I went to bed that night alone for the 1,000th time. I told myself I wouldn't cry. I'd done enough of that over the years. But just as I closed my eyes, thunder cracked in the distance, loud, close, and the lights flickered. Then a sharp pain struck through my head, like a whisper bursting too close to my ear. "Don't go." I froze. The voice wasn't mine. It was deep, familiar, and raw with emotion. I sat up, breath shaky. "Who?" And then I heard it again. "Please don't leave me." It was Adrian's voice. But he wasn't in the room. I stared at the closed door, heart pounding. The world was silent, except for the faint, broken thought echoing in my mind, the one that shouldn't have been possible. I can't lose her too. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Every time I shut my eyes, I could hear him faint, muffled, like thoughts echoing from another room. His voice wasn't clear enough to follow, just scattered phrases bleeding through the quiet. "She thinks I don't care." If she only knew. "Please just stay." I pressed my hands against my ears, heart racing. It didn't stop. By morning, I'd convinced myself it was a dream. Maybe I'd finally gone crazy. 3 years of loving a man who never loved me back. Yeah, that could break anyone. But when I walked into the kitchen and saw Adrian standing by the counter, pouring coffee like he hadn't broken me into pieces 12 hours ago, the voice came again. "She looks tired. Did she cry again?" I froze. He glanced over his shoulder. "Something wrong?" I blinked rapidly, trying to sound normal. "No, just coffee smells strong." "Sorry," he said quietly. "I didn't mean to wake you." "She looks like she barely slept. I should have said something last night. Anything." My mouth went dry. He was standing 2 feet away. He hadn't spoken, but I heard him. It was his voice, his thoughts, and they were nothing like the cold, distant man I'd lived with for years. I sat down slowly. "You were up early." He poured a second cup and handed it to me, careful not to touch my hand. "Couldn't sleep." "Because you weren't beside me." I almost dropped the mug. He didn't even notice, just sat across from me like everything was fine, like his silence didn't carry 1,000 unspoken words. The next few hours were a blur of panic and disbelief. I went about my morning routine, getting dressed, answering emails, pretending my world hadn't tilted overnight. But every time Adrian passed me, I caught snippets. "She's leaving today." "She'll forget me." "Good, that's better for her." My chest ached, because hearing his thoughts was worse than the silence ever was. Now I knew exactly how much he felt and refused to show. By evening, I couldn't take it anymore. I found him in his office, sleeves rolled up, tie loosened, typing something that probably wasn't half as important as the truth he wouldn't say aloud. "Adrian," I said, my voice trembling. He looked up. "Yes." I walked closer, forcing my tone steady. "I need to ask you something, and I want the truth." He frowned slightly. "Of course." I took a deep breath. "Do you really want this divorce?" For a moment, silence. Then he said, coolly, "It's what you want, isn't it?" But in his mind, I heard, "No, please God, no." The tears burned before I could stop them. "You're a terrible liar." He blinked, confused. "What?" I shook my head, smiling bitterly. "You say nothing and expect me to understand everything, but I can't read minds, Adrian." His jaw tightened, like he wanted to say something but couldn't. If only he knew. I could now. If someone had told me last week I'd be hearing my husband's inner thoughts, I would have asked them to hand me whatever medication they were on. But here I was, 3 days post, existential breakdown, sipping coffee across from the man I was supposedly divorcing, and trying not to flinch every time he thought something too loud. She still hasn't packed her things. Does that mean she changed her mind? I bit back a smile. "What?" He glanced up from his laptop. "What?" "Nothing." He went back to typing. "She's smiling. That's good. She looks beautiful when she smiles." Oh, this was dangerous. I decided to test it. "Adrian," I said sweetly, "do you think I should wear the blue dress to dinner tonight or the red one?" He blinked, clearly caught off guard. "You have plans." "Maybe," I tilted my head. "Just curious what you think." "Red, always red. It's the one she wore at that charity gala, the night I almost kissed her." "Blue, probably," he said aloud. "It's more subtle." I almost choked on my coffee. "Subtle, huh?" He nodded stiffly, pretending to read an email. "If she wears red, I'll lose my mind." I had to turn away to hide my grin. By lunchtime, I'd made it my personal mission to push every button he had. When he walked into the living room, I was on the couch with my phone, laughing at something Lily texted. He paused. "Who's she talking to? She never laughs like that when it's me." "Lily," I said casually. He looked startled. "I didn't ask." I sipped my tea. "Didn't you?" He frowned, muttering something about meetings, and left. She's going to drive me insane before the week's over. Mission accomplished. But then, later that night, the game stopped feeling funny. I walked past his office and saw him leaning back in his chair, staring blankly at the ceiling. The glow from the desk lamp softened the sharpness in his face, making him look tired. Human. And then the thoughts came. I don't deserve her, not after everything I did to keep her here. If she knew why I stayed away, she'd hate me. My breath caught. I wanted to ask why. "What are you hiding, Adrian?" But if he realized I could hear him, really hear him, he'd shut down completely. So I did what any emotionally unstable woman with a telepathic advantage would do. I crept away and pretended I didn't hear a thing. Except I couldn't stop hearing it. Every whispered thought. Every unspoken apology. Every small, broken piece of love he was too afraid to show. And for the first time since I decided to leave, I wasn't sure if I could. If irony were a person, it'd be sitting in my closet laughing at me right now. Because here I was, the almost divorced wife, standing in front of the mirror in the red dress my husband once said made him forget how to breathe. And tonight, I was wearing it for him. It's just one night, Aria. Smile, look stunning, pretend you're not hearing his every insecure thought. Easy, totally easy. When I walked downstairs, Adrian froze mid-conversation with the driver. His jaw tightened, that familiar, unreadable expression slipping into place, but his thoughts gave him away. "God, she's beautiful. Don't stare. She'll think you care again." Too late. "Ready?" he asked, voice controlled, like he wasn't fighting for composure. "As I'll ever be," I said. The gala was the kind of event where people wore diamonds the size of small planets and smiled like their Botox depended on it. We played our usual part, the charming couple, hand in hand, perfectly synchronized. Except tonight, it felt different. He kept his hand on the small of my back a second too long. He leaned close when introducing me to people, his voice low enough that my skin prickled every time he spoke. I just want to remember her like this, before she's gone. I swallowed hard. At some point, we slipped onto the balcony. The city glittered beneath us, quiet compared to the noise inside. I turned to face him. So, this is your big plan. One last picture-perfect night before the papers. He looked away, his hands tightening on the railing. Something like that. You could have just said goodbye at home. He exhaled, almost a laugh, almost a sigh. I wanted to remember us without the arguments, without the silence. I almost said something snarky, but then his thoughts came through, raw, unfiltered. Tell her the truth, Adrian. Tell her before it's too late. No, it'll only hurt her more. What truth? I blurted out. His eyes snapped to mine. What? I panicked. Nothing, you looked like you wanted to say something. He hesitated, then quietly said, You deserve someone who doesn't keep secrets. My heart thudded. Then tell me yours. He stepped closer, so close I could feel his breath. If I do, you'll never look at me the same way again. I didn't move. Try me. Silence. Then softly. I never wanted the divorce. I pushed her away so she wouldn't hate me when she found out what I did to protect her. I blinked. Adrian. He froze. What did you just? I did the only thing that could possibly make it worse. I kissed him. And it wasn't gentle or polite or goodbye. It was desperate. All the anger, the confusion, the love I'd been trying to bury since the day I died. When we finally pulled apart, he whispered, Why now? Because I could hear you. Because I finally understand. Because maybe I never stopped loving you. But all I said was, because it felt like the last chance. For the first time in years, I didn't know how to act around him. Every look, every word felt heavier now that I could hear what he wasn't saying. He'd kissed me back last night, that slow, shattering kind of kiss that said everything we'd both tried to ignore. And now, silence. We were back home, the unspoken hovering between us like fog. I poured coffee just to have something to do with my hands. He watched me quietly. She looks calmer today. Maybe she didn't remember what I almost said. Oh, but I did. Adrian, I said, my voice steady, what exactly did you do to protect me? He froze mid-step, his back still turned. For a moment, I thought he'd lie again. But then he sighed, that deep, tired kind of sound that told me he was done pretending. There was an investment your father made years ago, he began slowly. It was illegal. Someone was blackmailing him, threatening to ruin him and you with him. If that story had gone public, you'd have lost everything. Your name, your career. My stomach twisted. What does that have to do with you? I took the blame, he said simply. I signed the documents. I made it look like I was the one laundering funds. My throat tightened. You risked your own reputation for me. He met my gaze at last. I didn't want you to hate your father, or yourself. But when the board turned against me, I thought, if you found out, you'd hate me instead. And then his thoughts came through, trembling, broken. I could take her anger. I just couldn't take her pain. My eyes burned, but I smiled through the tears. Idiot, I whispered. You should have told me. He stepped closer, reaching out, hesitant, as if afraid I'd pull away. Would you have stayed if I had? I didn't answer. I just touched his cheek gently. You never lost me, Adrian. You only forgot how to let me in. For the first time, his silence felt peaceful, not distant, not cold. Just real. It's been 3 days since Adrian confessed everything, and 2 days since I decided to pretend I can't hear his thoughts anymore. Best decision ever. I've never had so much entertainment in my life. This morning, for example, Adrian walked into the kitchen shirtless. Why? Why does he do this to my sanity? And said in his calm CEO voice, Good morning. Out loud, I said, Morning. In my head, I heard, God, she's wearing my shirt again. I should tell her to stop before I lose my mind. I sipped my coffee with the calm of a woman holding a secret nuclear weapon. Want some breakfast? He blinked, clearly trying to be normal. Sure. Don't stare at her legs. Don't stare at her legs. Okay, I'm starring. I nearly choked on my coffee. Later, in his study, he was working while I sat across the desk pretending to read. He looked so serious, sleeves rolled up, brows furrowed, every inch of him screaming I'm focused on business, except. She's adorable when she's pretending not to watch me. Does she even know how distracting she is? Oh, I knew. And I was enjoying every second of it. I cleared my throat. Adrian, you're starring. He blinked. Am I? You are. I was thinking. About. He paused, deadpan. Work. His brains, meanwhile. Liar. You were thinking about kissing her again, you coward. I smirked. You sure about that? He narrowed his eyes slightly. You're acting strange. I'm always strange, I said sweetly. I swear she knows something. Oops. By evening, the tension was unbearable. Not the bad kind, the kind that hums in the air like static. We ended up cooking together, which was chaos because apparently Mr. CEO can't even chop onions without turning it into a power play. Let me do it, I said, reaching for the knife. I've got it. You're about to cut your fingers off. I can handle a knife, Aria. I cannot handle a knife. The sound I made was somewhere between a snort and a laugh. He gave me a look that said, woman, have mercy, and I decided to take pity on him. I moved closer, guiding his hands. His breath caught. She's so close. Don't mess this up. Don't say something stupid like, you smell nice, he blurted. Thanks. Idiot, smooth, real smooth. I bit back a grin. You're weird, you know that. He smiled, genuinely softly. Only around you. And that was the moment I realized. Maybe I didn't need to hear his thoughts anymore to know what he felt. The house felt different these days. Lighter, somehow. Like the tension that used to hang between us had cracked open, and sunlight was finally seeping through. Adrian wasn't as quiet anymore, not in the uncomfortable way. He still wasn't chatty, but he'd do little things. Small, gentle things. Like making me tea exactly how I liked it, without asking. Or leaving his meetings early just to drive me home. Or saying my name like it meant something again. That night, I was sitting by the window with a blanket, scrolling through mindless news articles, when I felt the couch dip beside me. You're still up, he asked, voice low. I couldn't sleep, I murmured. He didn't reply, just reached over and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. His fingers brushed my cheek, lingering for a second too long. I missed this, missed her, missed us. I pretended not to hear, even though my heart was doing backflips. You shouldn't stay up so late, he said. You shouldn't worry so much, I countered. He smiled, small and lopsided. Bad habit. I looked at him, really looked at him, the dark circles, the faint lines by his eyes. For once, he didn't look like the untouchable CEO everyone feared. He just looked like my husband. Without thinking, I leaned into him. Then I guess we both have bad habits. His arm came around me instinctively, pulling me closer. My head rested against his chest, his heartbeat steady under my ear. No words, just quiet breathing and the warmth of a man who was finally learning how to hold someone gently. Stay like this a little longer, please. I smiled. Okay. Later, as I was drifting off, he whispered softly, you know, I used to think love had to be perfect. I murmured. But then you kept loving me anyway, even when I didn't deserve it. He paused, and his voice cracked just a little. Thank you for staying. I turned my head toward him, eyes half closed. I never really left. He kissed the top of my head, slow, almost reverent. I know. And in that quiet moment, I realized something simple and true. I didn't need to hear his thoughts anymore. His actions were louder than anything his mind could say. I should have known the universe wouldn't let me enjoy peace for too long. It never does. Because just when Adrian and I were starting to be normal, my phone buzzed. Ethan, hey Aria, I'm back in town. Coffee sometime. Ethan. My first love. The one who'd moved abroad years ago, taking a perfectly packaged heartbreak with him. I stared at the screen for a solid 30 seconds before Adrian's voice interrupted my silent panic. Who's that? My brain, lie. My mouth, just an old friend. He raised a brow, a friend. His thoughts, however, were a whole different movie. Old friend, the same Ethan she used to mention in college, the one she smiled about, the one I know, calm down. I smiled a little too brightly. He's just visiting. We'll probably grab a coffee, catch up. Coffee. One word, flat, dangerous. Relax, Mr. CEO, I teased. You're acting like I said candlelight dinner. He didn't reply, just gave a tight nod. She can meet whoever she wants. It's fine, I'm fine. He was so not fine. The next day, Ethan showed up at my office looking like a walking nostalgia trip. Same warm smile, same ridiculous charm. Aria, he said, grinning, you look amazing. Flattery's still your favorite hobby, I see. We laughed, and for a while it was easy, familiar. But halfway through our conversation, the air shifted. I felt the temperature drop before I even turned around. Adrian. Standing by the door in his perfectly tailored suit, his jaw tight enough to cut glass. Mr. Carter, I said carefully, this is Ethan, an old friend, Adrian finished for me, voice cool. Yes, I gathered. Ethan stood, smiling politely. Pleasure to meet you. Aria's told me a lot about you. Has she? Adrian's smile didn't reach his eyes. Don't look jealous, you look jealous. Great. I cleared my throat. Adrian, we were just finishing up. Oh, don't rush on my account, he said smoothly, though his hand found the back of my chair possessively. If he touches her, I swear. Ethan, blissfully unaware, said, we should all grab dinner sometime. Not a chance, Adrian said, and I choked on my coffee. Later that night, I found him in the study, pretending to work. Okay, I said, arms crossed. You were jealous. He didn't look up. I was not. Really? Because your voice dropped a full octave, and you glared like you were auditioning for a mafia film. He sighed. I didn't like the way he looked at you. I softened. Adrian, he's just a friend. He finally met my eyes, all steel and vulnerability. I know, but I spent years convincing myself you didn't love me, and seeing someone else look at you like I used to. He stopped himself. It makes me wonder if I ever deserved a second chance. I walked over, resting a hand on his shoulder. You didn't just deserve one, Adrian, you earned it. He turned his head, brushing his lips against my palm. Then promise me something. What? That I'm not just another chapter in your story. You're not, I said softly. You're the rest of it. If someone had told me peace wouldn't last a week, I'd have laughed. Now, I was standing in a quiet cafe with Ethan across from me, and I wasn't laughing at all. He looked the same as always, calm, confident, infuriatingly sincere. Aria, he said, his voice low, I tried to move on, I really did. But seeing you today, it reminded me that I never stopped loving you. I froze, heart pounding. Ethan, I began, but he took a step closer. I'm not here to ruin your life. I just needed you to know, that's all. And that's exactly when I felt it. The unmistakable weight of his presence. Adrian. Standing at the doorway, still as marble, his expression unreadable, but his eyes were anything but. She's with him. She didn't even hesitate. No. Before I could move, he turned and walked out. By the time I caught up to him, the sky had opened up into a downpour, because of course it had. He was standing by the car, rain slicking through his hair, his suit darkened by it, but he didn't even seem to feel it. Adrian, wait. He didn't. I grabbed his arm. It's not what you think. He turned, eyes burning. Then tell me, Aria, what should I think? His voice wasn't raised, but it cut deep anyway. He confessed I didn't. And you didn't stop him, he interrupted. You let him say everything I was terrified of hearing." I swallowed hard. I didn't let him, I was just shocked. He laughed hollow and sharp. "Shocked, right. Why do you always assume the worst of me?" "Because every time I start to believe you could love me, something reminds me how easy it would be to lose you." That broke something in me. "You think I want to be loved by someone else?" I snapped. "You think I haven't spent years begging for you to just see me?" His silence was deafening. Rain fell harder, my voice cracked. "You can hear it now, can't you? The truth. You're the only one I want." He stepped closer, his breath uneven. "Then why does it hurt so damn much to love you?" "Because you never let yourself." For a moment, neither of us spoke. Just the rain, the sound of two people who'd been dancing around their feelings for far too long. Then he said quietly, "Say it again." I blinked. "What?" "That I'm the only one." I met his gaze, unwavering. "You're the only one, Adrian Carter." Something in him snapped then, or maybe it healed. He reached for me, pulling me against him with a kind of desperation that made my heart stutter. His hands framed my face, rain-soaked and trembling. And then he kissed me. It wasn't careful, it wasn't polite. It was years of silence, regret, and love colliding all at once, feverish and raw and real. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathless. He rested his forehead against mine. "I don't want to fight anymore," he whispered. "I don't want to lose you again." "Then don't," I said softly. "Just love me properly this time." He exhaled a shaky laugh. "You're giving orders now." "Always have been." And for the first time in a long time, we both smiled, the kind that felt like coming home. The mornings in our home always feel a little too quiet at first. The sunlight sneaks through the curtains, painting soft gold lines across the floorboards, and the air smells faintly of coffee and something sweet Adrian probably bribed the chef to make. It's been 6 months since everything changed, since we stopped pretending, stopped fighting fate, and started learning what love actually looked like when it wasn't wrapped in pride or pain. Adrian's laugh has become my favorite sound. It still startles me sometimes, how easily he laughs now. He used to wear his silence like armor. Now he hums while reading the news. Sometimes he still forgets to put sugar in my tea and insists it. "Healthier this way." I pretend to be annoyed. He knows I'm not. He walked into the room just as I was lost in thought, sleeves rolled up, a faint smear of ink on his wrist from signing too many documents. He stopped beside me, pressed a kiss to the top of my head, and murmured, "Thinking too hard again." "Just remembering," I said softly, "how we got here." He smiled, the quiet kind, the one that only ever belonged to me. "I remember too, every part of it." For a while, we just stood there, the silence between us comfortable. Outside, the city moved on, people rushing, cars honking, the world spinning. But in here, it felt like time had finally decided to be kind. And then, as I looked down at the small silver charm in my hand, the one that had belonged to my mother, I felt it again. That flutter. That quiet, miraculous flutter. A laugh escaped me, soft and disbelieving. "Adrian," I whispered, my voice trembling in a way it hadn't in a long time. "We're going to have a baby." For a second, he froze. And then, his expression shifted, disbelief melting into joy so pure it made my throat tighten. He pulled me into his arms and just held me there, breathing against my hair like he couldn't quite believe it was real. "I don't think I've ever been this happy," he said against my ear. I smiled through the tears I didn't bother hiding. "Then promise me one thing." "Anything." "Let's never go back to who we were." He cupped my face, eyes steady. "Never," he vowed. And for once, I believed him completely. Outside, the sunlight spilled across the windowsill, warm and endless, the kind of morning that promised new beginnings. And in that quiet room, wrapped in his arms, I knew we'd finally found ours.